Have you ever felt that discomfort inside, that uneasy feeling that appears when you allow someone to treat you with less respect than you deserve? It's not a coincidence. That inner voice, that uneasiness, it's your shadow speaking to you. And today, we're going to explore why you should listen to it. I want you to pause for a moment, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, how many times have you accepted less than you deserve? How many times have you silenced that inner voice telling you, this isn't right? Carl Jung, one of the most revolutionary psychologists of all time, had a name for that part of yourself you try to ignore, the shadow. This isn't just another conversation about self-help. It's a journey to the center of your being, guided by Jung's profound teachings. Because when you understand the concept of the shadow, you understand why you've been accepting less than you deserve for so long. The shadow, according to Jung, is that part of our psyche that we've repressed, that we've hidden from ourselves and the world. It contains all those aspects that we've been taught to reject: anger, resentment, pain, but also strength, determination, and personal power. And when we allow others to treat us with less respect than we deserve, it's this shadow that begins to manifest through discomfort, disturbing dreams, and that persistent feeling that something isn't right in our lives. Jung taught us something revolutionary. We cannot separate ourselves from our shadow. Trying to deny it only makes it more powerful and causes it to manifest in ways we cannot control. The only way to free ourselves is to recognize it, embrace it, and integrate it into our consciousness. Think about that relationship where you constantly feel less valued, or that job where your talents are ignored, or that friendship where you're always the one who gives but rarely the one who receives. Your shadow has been trying to talk to you, showing you that you deserve more, that you're accepting less than you're truly worth. Why do we do this? Jung explained that from an early age, we learn to repress parts of ourselves to be accepted. Maybe you were taught that expressing your needs was selfish. Perhaps you learned that keeping the peace meant sacrificing your desires. Or possibly you internalized that your value depended on how much you could please others. These limiting beliefs take residence in what Jung called the personal unconscious, that part of your mind that stores all your memories, experiences, and traumas. When you allow others to treat you with less respect than you deserve, you're reinforcing these beliefs. You're telling your unconscious that, indeed, you don't deserve more. But there's something deeper at play here. Jung told us about the collective unconscious, that vast ocean of symbols, archetypes, and patterns that we share as humanity. One of those archetypes is the collective shadow, all those aspects that as a society we have rejected and repressed. In many cultures, we have collectively repressed the idea of setting healthy boundaries, of prioritizing personal well-being, of demanding dignified treatment, especially if you're a woman. Perhaps the collective shadow has been telling you that your role is to sacrifice yourself, to please, to be available. If you're a man, maybe it has been telling you that showing vulnerability or need is a sign of weakness. When you begin to recognize these dynamics, you start to see clearly why you've been accepting less. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to heal this relationship with yourself. Jung taught us that the true work of personal growth is individuation, that process by which we differentiate ourselves from collective expectations and discover who we really are. And a fundamental part of this process is the integration of the shadow. Imagine for a moment what would happen if you started listening to your shadow. If, when that feeling of discomfort appears when being treated with less respect, instead of ignoring it, you observed it with curiosity. What is this part of me trying to tell me? What do I really need in this situation? Jung believed that our dreams are a direct window to our unconscious. Have you recently dreamed of situations where you feel trapped, pursued, or powerless? These might be messages from your shadow, trying to show you where you're allowing less than you deserve. He also told us about complexes, those constellations of charged thoughts and emotions that are activated when something touches a deep wound. Have you noticed how certain situations or comments trigger a disproportionate emotional reaction in you? There's your shadow, revealing areas where you need to heal and establish healthier boundaries. One of Jung's most profound teachings is that we cannot give what we do not have. If you don't treat yourself with respect, if you don't honor your needs, if you don't recognize your own worth, how can you expect others to do so? The way others treat you is a direct reflection of how you treat yourself. This doesn't mean blaming yourself for the times you've been mistreated or ignored. It's not your fault. But it is your power to recognize that you have the ability to change these patterns. As Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. When you begin to integrate your shadow, to recognize those repressed parts of yourself, something extraordinary happens. You begin to feel a new inner strength, a clarity you didn't have before. You no longer need constant validation from others because you found your own internal validation. Suddenly, saying no when something doesn't resonate with you becomes easier. Setting boundaries no longer feels like an act of rebellion, but an act of self-love. And the people who used to treat you with less respect now have two options. Adapt to this new, more authentic version of you, or exit your life. Jung spoke of this process as a symbolic death and rebirth. The version of you that accepted less must die for a new, more integrated and powerful one to be born. And like any process of death and rebirth, it can be painful, confusing, and frightening. But on the other side awaits a version of yourself that you couldn't even imagine. Think about all the times you've said yes when you wanted to say no. All the occasions when you've silenced your truth to avoid discomfort. Every moment you've allowed someone to cross your boundaries because you were afraid of losing them. Your shadow has been accumulating all that repressed energy, and now it's ready to be released. But how do we begin this process of shadow integration? Jung offered us several tools. The first is non-judgmental self-observation. Begin to notice those moments when you allow less than you deserve, not to punish yourself, but to understand what's really happening. What fear lies behind that permissiveness? What unexpressed need are you trying to satisfy by pleasing others? The second tool is dialogue with the shadow. Jung practiced what he called active imagination, a form of internal conversation with the different parts of our psyche. Ask your shadow directly, what do you need from me? What have you been trying to tell me when I feel uncomfortable, allowing less than I deserve? The third tool is symbolic amplification. Pay attention to the symbols that appear in your dreams, in your spontaneous thoughts, in the synchronicities you experience in your life. Jung believed that these symbols are direct messages from our unconscious, guiding us toward integration. And finally, the most powerful tool, congruent action. Once you've listened to your shadow, act accordingly. Establish those boundaries you've been postponing. Express those truths you've been silencing. Demand that respect you've been denying yourself. Jung constantly reminded us that this is not work we do alone. Shadow integration often requires the support of a community, a mentor, a therapist. It's not a sign of weakness to seek help. It's an act of profound wisdom to recognize that we all need guidance on this journey. Let's talk now about relationships, because it's here that our relationship with the shadow is most clearly manifested. Jung introduced the concept of projection, that mechanism by which we attribute to others those aspects of ourselves that we don't want to recognize. Have you noticed how sometimes the same situations repeat themselves with different people? Maybe you always end up in relationships where you don't feel valued, or jobs where your talents aren't recognized, or friendships where you give more than you receive. This is not a coincidence. It's your shadow projecting itself again and again until you finally recognize and integrate it. Jung said that the meeting with oneself is one of the most unpleasant encounters, and he was right. To face all those parts of yourself that you've rejected, all those patterns you've perpetuated, can be painful. But it's also the most liberating act you can perform, because when you finally recognize that you've been allowing less than you deserve, you can't go back. That awareness becomes the seed of profound transformation. What would happen if, starting today, you began to treat each situation where you feel less valued as an opportunity to dialogue with your shadow? If each time you feel that discomfort, instead of blaming the other or blaming yourself, You asked with genuine curiosity what that experience is trying to show you. Jung believed that life's ultimate purpose is individuation, that process by which we become complete beings, integrating all parts of ourselves, including the shadow. It's not a destination we reach, but a path we travel day by day, choice by choice. And each time you choose not to allow less than you deserve, each time you establish a healthy boundary, each time you demand to be treated with respect, you're advancing on that path. You're saying yes to your process of individuation. Think about all the areas of your life where you've been accepting less. Relationships, work, family, friendships. Shadow integration doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process that begins with small acts of authenticity and self-respect. Maybe today, it's about establishing that boundary you've been postponing. Perhaps it's having that difficult but necessary conversation. Or possibly, it's simply recognizing for yourself, I've been allowing less than I deserve, and I'm ready to change that pattern. Jung reminds us that the acceptance of oneself is the essence of the moral problem and the epitome of a whole outlook on life. To accept yourself completely, including those shadowy parts, those aspects that society has taught you to repress, is the most revolutionary act you can perform. Because when you accept yourself in your totality, you no longer need external validation so desperately. You no longer depend on others' recognition to feel your own worth. And paradoxically, that's when you begin to attract relationships, situations, and opportunities that reflect that innate value you've recognized in yourself. Jung spoke of synchronicity, those seemingly casual but meaningful events that occur when we're aligned with our true selves. Have you noticed how, when we finally establish a clear boundary in a relationship, suddenly people appear who respect that boundary effortlessly? It's not a coincidence. It's synchronicity in action. This doesn't mean the path is easy. Shadow integration often involves facing resistance, both internal and external. People who have benefited from your permissiveness won't be happy when you begin to demand respect. Your own fear of being abandoned, rejected, or judged will intensify. But as Jung said, there is no birth of consciousness without pain. That discomfort is part of the process, a sign that you're on the right path. And each time you persist despite the fear, each time you choose your truth over comfort, your shadow integrates a little more. Your being becomes a little more complete. Let me give you an image to illustrate this process. Imagine your psyche as an iceberg. The visible tip above the water is your consciousness, what you recognize about yourself. But beneath the water lies the immense mass of the iceberg, your unconscious. There resides your shadow, your complexes, your deepest fears, but also your most powerful resources, your innate wisdom, your capacity for transformation. The process of shadow integration is like gradually melting that ice, allowing what was frozen beneath the surface to flow and integrate with the visible. It's a process of transformation, not elimination. You're not getting rid of your shadow. You're recognizing it as an essential part of who you are. And as this process advances, you begin to experience what Jung called the transcendent function, that ability to overcome polarities, to reconcile the opposites within you. You're no longer divided between what you show to the world and what you hide. You become a more integrated, more authentic, more powerful being. This integration doesn't just benefit you, but everyone around you. Because when you stop projecting your shadow onto others, when you stop looking in them for what you haven't recognized in yourself, your relationships transform. They become more authentic, deeper, more meaningful. Imagine what your life would be like if every relationship were based on genuine mutual respect, if every interaction reflected your inherent worth. This isn't an unattainable fantasy. It's the natural result of doing the work of shadow integration. Jung reminded us that know all things and know all theories, but above all, know yourself. This self-knowledge isn't a luxury. It's a vital necessity if we want to live authentic and fulfilling lives. And a fundamental part of that knowledge is recognizing when we're allowing less than we deserve, not as an exercise in self-flagellation, but as an act of deep self-love and commitment to our growth. What are you willing to do today to honor that inner wisdom that tells you that you deserve more? What small step can you take toward integrating your shadow, toward recognizing all those parts of yourself that you've been repressing? Maybe it's as simple as allowing yourself to feel that anger you've been repressing when someone crosses your boundaries. Or perhaps it's expressing a need you've been silencing. Or possibly it's simply admitting to yourself, I've been accepting less because I'm afraid of losing the little I have. Whatever that step is, know that you're not alone on this journey. As Jung said, we're all connected through the collective unconscious, that vast network of symbols, archetypes, and ancestral wisdom that we share as humanity. Each time you do the work of integrating your shadow, you're contributing to collective healing. Remember that the shadow isn't your enemy. It's a vital part of who you are. It contains not only your darkest aspects, but also some of your most powerful qualities. Your passion, your determination, your ability to protect yourself and what you love. When you finally stop allowing less than you deserve, when you begin to treat each interaction as an opportunity to honor your inherent worth, you're activating these qualities. You're reclaiming that power that has always been yours. And the world responds, not instantly, not magically, but inevitably. Because as Jung taught us, what you deny submits you, what you accept transforms you. When you stop denying your worth, when you stop repressing your need for respect and recognition, your entire reality begins to transform. Imagine waking up each morning deeply, knowing that you deserve to be treated with respect, that your needs matter, that your voice deserves to be heard. Imagine moving through the world from that place of inner certainty, not as a defensive shield, but as a serene and powerful presence. This is the gift of shadow integration. You no longer need to convince anyone of your worth because you know it in the depths of your being. And that knowledge is reflected in every choice you make, in every boundary you establish, in every relationship you cultivate. Jung believed that we're all on a journey toward wholeness, toward integrating all parts of ourselves. And each time you choose not to allow less than you deserve, each time you listen to your shadow instead of repressing it, you're advancing on that journey. It's not an easy path. Sometimes you'll feel lost, confused, scared. Sometimes you'll doubt if you really deserve more. It's in those moments when you most need to remember Jung's teachings. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. Look into your heart. Listen to that voice telling you that you deserve more. It's not arrogance, it's your deepest truth speaking to you. And when you finally listen to it, when you finally act in accordance with it, you discover that the life you've been seeking has always been within your reach. You just needed the courage to claim it. The courage to look your shadow in the eye and say, I see you, I recognize you, I integrate you. The courage to tell the world, this is my worth, this is my power, and I'm no longer going to allow less than I deserve. This is Carl Jung's legacy, not just a set of psychological theories, but a path toward fullness, toward authenticity, toward the life you truly deserve to live. A path that begins with a simple but powerful recognition. Your shadow speaks to you when you allow less than you deserve, and it's time to listen to it. If this message has resonated with you, if you've felt that spark of recognition as we've talked about the shadow and allowing less than you deserve, I want to ask you something. Share this video with someone you think might benefit from hearing it. Sometimes, a simple video can be the seed of profound transformation. And leave me a comment telling me which part of this message resonated most with you. Is there a specific area of your life where you've been allowing less than you deserve? What has your shadow been telling you? Your experience isn't just valuable to me. It might be exactly what someone else needs to read to begin their own journey of integration. Because as Jung taught us, we're all connected. We all share that invisible network of the collective unconscious. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, now is the time. By activating the bell, you'll receive notifications each time I upload a new video exploring these profound teachings that help us live more conscious and fulfilling lives. Remember, your shadow isn't your enemy. It's part of you. It contains invaluable treasures, and it's waiting for you to finally listen to it. When you stop allowing less than you deserve, you not only transform yourself, you transform the entire world. Thank you for being here, for dedicating this time to your inner growth. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue exploring together the mysteries of the human psyche and the art of living an authentic and fulfilling life. And remember, your true power begins when you stop allowing less than you truly deserve. That's the timeless wisdom that Carl Jung left us as a legacy. A wisdom that, if we apply it, has the power to transform not only our individual lives, but the collective consciousness of all humanity.